Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to try to dive right into another Pat Martino lesson. As some of you may know, I've done a couple of videos on things Pat showed me before, and you also know that I got to meet him back years ago when I was attending GIT out in Hollywood, the Guitar Institute of Technology that's now the Musicians Institute, and he was a resident there for a month or two when the year I was going there, and Pat would have an office there, and he'd just come in 1 or 2 days a week, and you could go by and pick his brain, and I got to hang out with him for 2 or 3 hours one morning. Recorded it all on cassette tape, which is I'm long lost, so long gone. So some of you may have seen my most recent Pat video on his parental forms of the augmented chord, where you lower a string, you get a major chord, you raise that half step on that same string, you get the relative minor 7. Well, I'll have a link to that video in the description of this. Well, I'll tell you what, it'll be on the end of this. I'll have it on the end frame of this video. Probably have a link in the description as well. And I'll definitely have a link to Pat's True Fire course of The Nature of Guitar, where he talks about this stuff in depth as well. So diving right into the diminished parental form, another magic chord, and although the augmented gets you 196 chords within the 12 keys, this one gets you 135 chords, yeah. I'm going to dive right in here. For those of you who are so inclined, please like the video. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I will appreciate it so much. Pat first goes into how you can play the diminished chord horizontally up the neck, and a diminished chord repeats itself or inverts. There's a new inversion every 3 frets. That's playing it horizontally, but you can also play it vertically by going down the strings. So you have horizontal, and then you have vertical. And you also have 3 close clusters here, or what Pat refers to as adjacent string clusters. This one on the first 4 strings, you have the E, B flat, C sharp, G notes there. Then you come to the middle 4 strings, and that same, basically, if you do this chord up here at the 6th fret and you pull it down to the 4th fret, that's what your middle cluster is. You have C sharp, G, B flat note, and an E note there. And then likewise, you play this here, you bring it down here to the 2nd fret on the bottom 4 strings. So it's the same basic chord, just on different string clusters. Those are the 4. Here you have the G, the C sharp, the E note, and the B flat. So you have those 3 clusters that are adjacent, and you have 2 non-adjacent clusters. A little fewer than the augmented chord. We had 7 clusters because it's a triad, and you had, I think, 4, 5, 6, 7 spread triads. So yeah, you have 7 places to play the augmented. You only have 5 places to play the diminished chord. So the first non-adjacent place to play it is you take this bottom chord cluster and you take the C sharp note on your A string, put it up on your B string, 2nd fret C sharp, and that gives you this chord right here. Same chord, you're just playing that at a different spot. And likewise, you take this middle cluster and you take this G note on your D string, move it up to the little E string, and you have an adjacent place to play it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the trick that Pat showed me, not necessarily a trick, it's just a cool thing, a cool music theory fact. If you lower any note in that diminished chord, any of these diminished chords, you lower a note in a diminished chord, and that note now becomes the tonic of a dominant 7 chord. If you raise a note in that chord, this new note becomes the flat 7 of a minor 7 flat 5 chord. So in this instance, on the D string, we take that note down a half step. We have an E flat, so we now have an E flat 7 chord. You take that E up to an F. Well, F is the flat 7 of a G minor chord, so now you have a G minor 7 flat 5. Likewise, if you take your the G string note, the B flat there down to an A, that becomes the tonic of an A7 chord. Then if you take that note up to a B note, B is a flat 7 of C sharp, so that's a C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Now you take the B string C sharp note there, you take it down to a C. Now we have a C7 with the third and the bass. If you take that C sharp up to a D note, that's the 7 or the flat 7 of an E chord, right? An E minor. So that's an E minor 7 flat 5, which would put the tonic on the bass. Now the last string, you take this G note on the little E string down 1 fret. You have a F sharp 7. If you take it up 1/2 fret, 1/2 step, you now have an A flat, which is the flat 7 of a B flat minor 7 chord. So you have B minor 7, B flat minor 7, flat 5. There's your B flat. So there's your flat 7, B flat, third, dominant third, and the flat 7. So that's basically the whole deal. And so what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you how to do this with all 5 clusters. And of course you can take that, move that up through the 12 keys, like I said. So we're going to take it starting here, then we're going to go to this cluster. And I'm going to show you the clusters, the basic clusters, just showing you this dominant 7 and then showing you the minor 7 flat 5 immediately after. And following this video, I'm going to do another one where I'll show you how to play all these chords. In other words, here you have the E7, A7, C7, and F sharp 7. It'll show you how you can take that, all of these, play them all the way up the neck with these different inversions, which will really drive all these chord forms home and help you put them to use. So A7 would be then you got your C7, then your F sharp 7. So I'll do that forwards and backwards, and we'll kind of turn it into an exercise. So going through the rest of these 5 clusters, we've got the first one down now. So we go to the middle 4 strings, right? So you lower your C sharp note on the A string to the C, and you have that C7 chord, right? If you raise that C sharp to the D note, that's an E minor 7 flat 5, because D is a flat 7 of an E minor. If you take the G note on the D string and move that down a 1/2 step, you have F sharp 7, because that's an F sharp note, that's a tonic. Now you have the 5th and the bass on that A string. If you take that G note on the D string and move it up a 1/2 step, that's an A flat, which is the flat 7 and B flat minor 7 flat 5. So it's B minor 7 flat 5 with the 3rd and the bass. There's the B flat. Now you take that G string, B flat down to the A. That's the tonic of an A7 chord. So there's your A dominant 7 with the 3rd and the bass. You take that B flat up to the B. Once again, that's the flat 7 of a C sharp minor 7 chord. C sharp minor 7 flat 5 you have there, which looks like a lot like an A9. So that's another way you can put these chords to use, All these minor 7 flat 5s are a different way to play a 9th chord, Not least, we take this pinky on the E string, take it down to the E flat, and now we have an E flat chord on top, flat 7 and a bass. And if you take that E note up to the F, you have a G minor 7 flat 5, because F is the flat 7 in G minor. So moving on to our bottom 4 strings, you take this G note here on the big E string and move it down to F sharp. There's your F sharp chord. You take that G note and move it up to A flat. That's your B flat minor 7 flat 5. Just a different place to play it. Then you take your C sharp note down to C. Now you have your C7 chord with a G or a 5th and a bass. You take this C sharp up to the D note. This one's a real stretch here. This is the biggest stretch. Take it up to that D note, and you have an E minor 7 flat 5, because that's a flat 7 of an E chord. So the next one, you take the D string, you take that E note down to an E flat. That's a tonic of your E flat 7 chord. Here we have the 3rd and the bass. Yeah, And then you move that note up. That's an F note, which is a flat 7 of a G minor 7 flat 5. And then you take the G string, take that B flat, lower it to an A note. Now you have an A7 with the 7th in the bass. You take that B flat note and take it up a half step to B. Now you have C sharp minor 7 flat 5, and you have the flat 5 in the bass. So now for the last two, the non-adjacent clusters, you have this one is a lot like starting out like the bottom cluster because it has the bottom string. So you take that down, G to your F sharp. There's your F sharp 7. You take it up. That's another way to play B minor 7 flat 5. Now we have the flat 7 in the bass. So going back to the diminished, you take the E to the E flat. It's always going to be an E flat 7 chord. Take that E up to the F. Once again, we have a more familiar way to play the G minor 7 flat 5 chord with the flat 5 down here. You know. You take the C sharp on the B string, move it down. You got your C dominant 7 chord. You take that same C sharp and move it up a half step. That's the D note, which is the 7th, and a E minor 7 flat 5 chord. Remember we had it here? Now we're just taking that G and putting it down there. Of course you could play it all, but E minor 7 flat 5 chord. So now for our last cluster, this one here. Remember we had that, we move that note up to the top string. Take your C sharp and move it to the C, and there you have the C dominant 7. Move it up a half step to the D note, and that's your E minor 7 flat 5. You take your B flat on the G string, move it down one half step to the A note, that's your A7 chord. You take that B flat, move it up to a B. Now you have a C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Now going to the B string, you take this E note on the B string down to an E flat. You have E flat 7 with a flat 7 in the bass. Take that same note up a half step. Now it becomes G minor 7 flat 5 with the flat 5 in the bass. Last one, you take that G note on the little E string down. You have a F sharp 7. Now you take that little E string G note up a half step. And once again, that's an A flat, which is the flat 7 of a B minor 7 flat 5 chord. Now we have the 3rd in the bass. So there you have the 5 different clusters and what they morph into when you take a note on each string down a half step and a note on that same string up a half step. Going down gives you the dominant 7, and the string you move down is the tonic of the chord. Going up gives you a minor 7 flat 5, and the note that you moved up a half step becomes a flat 7. So once again, one more thing I'd like for you to get this into your brain. Take these chords like this E flat 7 here and learn it in all the positions, you know. Oh, another thing I want to show you on this bottom cluster on these 4 strings, you have, this is kind of a stretch of that E flat 7, but if this E minor 7 flat 5 here is the real stretch. That's where you got to stretch that pinky, but those are real similar, just moving the D string and the A string each up one half step. So starting here with this E flat 7, you have it there, you have a E flat 7 here, bottom 4 strings you have a, then for this cluster, non-adjacent, there's your E flat 7, and up here you have it there. So it's good to get all these groups of chords themselves, like take that E flat 7 and learn everywhere you can play it, you know. Same for, you know, the minor 7 flat 5 chord. You have your E minor 7 flat 5 there, you have it there, and you have it there. You have E minor 7 flat 5 there, and then last but not least you have it there. So you can take all these chords and do that and learn exactly where that specific chord is in all 5 different string clusters. I think it's going to be it for today, guys, and I'm going to use another video to show you how to do horizontal exercises where you can learn these all up and down the neck. And anyway, we'll get into that next time. I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. That'll help me out, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.